All right. Great to have you guys out there. Thank you so much for coming out to Metaverse TV. You're listening to Acoustic Energy Nightly. Going to do a couple of songs. Have a one-on-one interview with the beautiful Slim.
In a moment I will see you. In a moment we will be two in one, and one is all we need to love. In a moment I will touch your lips. In a moment we will be skin on skin, under linen, white as snow. You fall on me. I will hold you like a melody, sing each word into your soul. Breathing in your skin, you speak to me, and I cry. Feel the rush of love in my falling tears, rolling gently over your skin. In this moment I would bleed for you, I would die for you. Oh, I'd die. In a moment I will see you. In a moment we will be two in one, and one is all we need to love. In a moment I will kiss your lips. In a moment we will be skin on skin, and under linen, white as snow. You fall on me. I will hold you like a melody, sing each word into your soul. Breathing in your skin, you speak to me, and I cry. Feel the rush of love in my falling tears, rolling gently over your skin. In this moment I would bleed for you, I would die for you. Oh, I'd die. Give it all up, fall to my knees. I will hold you like a melody, sing each word into your soul. Breathing in your skin, you speak to me, and I cry. Rush of love in my falling tears, rolling gently over your skin. In this moment I would bleed for you, I would die for you. Oh,
song is called Heal My Bones.
Heal my bones, heal my body with this song. Heal my bones, heal my body with this song. Pour in me your love and fall on my pain with your words. Honor the place where you are as you walk on this earth. Heal my bones, heal my body with this song. Heal my bones, heal my body with this song. She cries, she longs for more. She sings loud. Heal my bones, heal my body with this song. Heal my bones, heal my body. Heal my bones, heal my body with this song. Heal my bones, heal my body with this song.
Metaverse TV. You gotta love it.
Your smile wakes my heart. I will embrace the dark tonight. Knowing your spirit has come to my rescue to heal my bones, heal my body with this song. Heal my bones, heal my body with this song.
Let me hear you scream.
She cries, she longs for more. She sings loud. Heal my bones, heal my body. Let it rise, let it rise, let it rise. Oh, heal my bones.
Welcome to this week's edition of Amped Up, the show run by Metaverse TV, where we get a chance to chat with some of the very talented musicians here in Second Life. And it's my very great pleasure to introduce this evening Acoustic Energy, who has just introduced the show with 2 original songs. And I have to say, he has blown the audience away with his incredible voice. And it's great to have you here, Acoustic.
Thank you very much. It's a joy to be here.
So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions actually to start off that are not necessarily Second Life related. You've been writing music for quite a while now. Did you start performing outside of Second Life before you came in here?
I started performing, when I was a teenager, and I'm 43 years old right now. So yeah, once I began playing guitar, I transitioned fairly quickly into singing and performing outside of my house.
I'm not entirely sure where you live in the States, but is it easy to get gigs in your local area?
It's real easy to get gigs. We have we have open mics here, all up and down, the coast. There's anywhere that you go, you can find an open mic somewhere where you can go ahead and just do your thing and sing and do poetry, all those types of things. And And then beyond that, there's always restaurants and venues where any musician, really good or bad, can perform and express themselves.
The reason I ask that, of course, is because obviously from some of the musicians that I've talked to before, that there is a big difference between performing in clubs and bars as opposed to Second Life, where perhaps the feedback is very different. And out of the two, how did you find coming into Second Life and then finding the feedback, a sort of being in type and being able to follow that, rather than in a real life situation where perhaps, that sometimes the music isn't always the focal point?
Right. You know what? That is a fantastic question, and I don't think it's a question that's ever been asked of me before. And it's interesting because in Second Life, you're in a very different situation. It's a very different world. It's a very different format. And as you know, and as the audience knows, that it's very easy to express yourselves behind a chat box more than if you were looking at me straight in my eyes. And so I get a tremendous amount more of feedback in Second Life, or in any other virtual format, if you will, than I would walking off a stage at a gig or an open mic or whatever it is. I get intensely brutal feedback, good and bad in Second Life and online.
Yeah. I think also as a musician, you get a chance to actually get to know your fans better as well.
You do. Sometimes you get to know them a lot more than you really should. But,
things you really don't want to know about your fans.
I'm sure. It's like, really? I didn't need to know the color of that, but oh well. Moving on. You definitely, experience a deeper connection, I guess you can say, with your fanship in Second Life than you would in the real world. But it's all, I guess, as much as you allow as an individual and where you stand.
Yes, I think perhaps sometimes in real life, people are a little nervous about approaching a musician to talk to them because they're not entirely sure what to say, whereas in Second Life it's as easy as clicking on a box and sending a message.
It is, yet there have been times when, people will send me a message and go, it's a little bit different in that they'll send a message saying, I know you're really busy, I know you're really swamped, after
Yes.
I just want to say, great job, or I just want to say, turn down your volume, you're too loud, or whatever it is, you get mixed things. So yeah, it's a different approach, it's a different things that they're saying, but they will say it.
Sorry, I was just going to say it allows people to be a little more direct, really.
Yes.
But it's also a very good platform for testing out music. Now, and I know that, you're a very, very talented musician, and I know that you write a lot of original songs. Do you find performing online a good place to test out some of the original songs that you write and get a good response from your fans in terms of feedback and them sort of saying, yeah, we really like that, or, does anybody say, actually, no, we really don't like that?
People won't say, well, there's two questions, but first one is, people will say that they usually won't say they don't like my music. They'll say they don't like, how I present myself, or, maybe some things that I say during a concert. But that's really the negative parts that I get back. And that's far and few between. I get more positive feedback than negative, which is a good thing. But I embrace any feedback, negative or positive, and I always take them to heart. I don't just shove them to the side and go, oh yeah, whatever, you don't know anything. I honestly take every piece of feedback I get, and I process it. And it may take me a day, a week, or 6 months to kind of come to grips with it. But I'll go, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. I can see where that person's coming from, and then I'll change and I'll redirect myself and try something different. And honestly, playing live here in Second Life has developed me more as a musician and even as an individual, and on many different levels, whether it's communicating with hosts like yourself, or communicating to just people, to understanding fanship, a fan base.
Yes.
It just goes very deep, and I am so encouraged and so excited to just be a part of this. And honestly, I forgot the first part of the question that you asked, but I think it was...
So did I, but that's all right.
Yeah, I think it was just about, I think I incorporated both answers in there.
Yes. But I must say that, I think a lot of musicians have found this is I think regardless of whether they performed in real life before, they do find performing in a virtual world a totally different experience, and it does increase your confidence. And certainly for me, when I first started, I was absolutely petrified. And not only that, there's an awful lot of multitasking to do, which perhaps you don't have so much of it at a real life gig, but you do in Second Life, because you have to watch your levels, you've got to watch the computer, you've got an eye on your chat, and making sure that you're responding to everybody. And again, as we were discussing a little earlier, when people are sending tips, there's an awful lot of visual information going on at the same time as you're actually performing. And how have you found that?
Slim, it was intensely challenging at first to manage all of that, and you hit everything on the head as far as you got to watch out for teepees when they're tipping you. Also, you have to follow the chat. You have to understand and respect the venue owner. You have to respect and understand your audience. Yes. Sometimes you go to a venue and it's their grand opening, so not only do you have to do your set and do all your original stuff and watch your levels and this and that, but you have to say, make sure you buy the new things over there, and there's new hats on sale over here, and the tip jars left and tip jars right, and hit the vote box, and then, and within all that, just because of who I am and how I perform, I need to still maintain the integrity of my songs and my leadership as a musician in Second Life. So I'm constantly processing and changing, which is very challenging for me because I'm very ADD. So if I get distracted, then I get distracted. People will go ahead and say, will you sing this song or that song? I'm like, absolutely. And then when I'm done with the song, I'm like, I have no idea what they wanted me to sing. If they didn't send it to me in a separate message or something, then I will completely forget. Along with my personality and my different brain style, SL can be a challenge yet. Meredith is like, ADD, no, are you kidding?
Oh, I know a lot of people that suffer from that. I think I'm probably one of them as well. Easily distracted.
Exactly.
Yeah, but when you're performing outside of Second Life,
you asked that question at the beginning. You were going to ask, what's my percentage, but how I heard it was, what percentage do you play in Second Life versus real life? And honestly, 99.9% of my time is in Second Life. I rarely play a live gig, and I have challenges, to be honest with you, playing live gigs. I don't do that well. Whenever I do perform live, I always get a very good and positive response, yet it's just challenging for me.
Yes. What I wanted to ask was, obviously, before you came to Second Life, did you always use the name Acoustic, or has that now become your brand because it's the name that you chose for your avatar?
I chose Acoustic Energy as like my first online thing, whether it's with Skype or MySpace, all those different social networks and chat software, I chose Acoustic Energy, and I did it for a couple of reasons. I thought about this, as do many, of the avatars out there, and anyone who comes online who connects to their name. I could have been, Bunny69 wants you or something, but I didn't choose that. I chose Acoustic Energy, and this was my mindset. And oddly enough, I kind of remember this. But I wanted something where it started with a letter at the top of the alphabet, because when I'm in chat rooms and stuff, then I'm at the top, because I'm just so freaking narcissistic, I guess, that I just want a popular person.
How very vain of you.
I'm sure. I'm honest, and I'm honest with myself. But no. So I wanted something like that, and then I needed to incorporate, myself, and so acoustic, obviously, because of the guitar, and then energy, because I do have a lot of energy. Not, I'm total ballad guy. I'm not a rock and roll. I don't do that, but I see it as a different type of energy, not only, an acoustic type energy or a musical type energy, but just a positive type of energy, something that's moving forward. It's something that I always communicate to friends and family and people that I talk to. They say, "How are you doing?" I say, it's all good. I'm moving forward. Things are progressing. I'm not flatlined. I'm not going backwards. I'm moving forward. So that's motion. That's energy. That's process. That's progress.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that's how I chose the name, and yeah.
It's great because I've found a lot of my friends who use Second Life, their avatar name it becomes a brand name. It's how we express ourselves outside of the virtual world. Whereas perhaps when we started, it wasn't something we ever expected would happen, or would or anybody would notice for that matter.
Right.
But it's funny how it certainly as a musician, and I talked with Chris Kwan a couple of weeks ago about this.
Oh my gosh,
it's funny
Chris!
how
Amazing,
isn't he just? How you separate the two. So if for those musicians who have a real life following under that particular artist name, and translating that, and that confusion between, well, I'm so and so here, but I'm so and so there, and it can be quite confusing, or you find that the two merge.
Right.
And nobody's quite sure what to call you.
Right. Yeah, as you as you saw on my Skype name, or I don't know if, well, on my Skype name says Acoustic Energy, and then parentheses it says James, just
Yes.
because that's my name, and that's what I like to be called. But obviously in the world it's Acoustic Energy, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I'm on Skype, then I'm going to want to be called by my name.
Yes. And very difficult for your family, isn't it? If you suddenly turned around and said, well, actually, you can't call me by James anymore. You have to only call me Acoustic Energy.
Right. Yes. it would seem very uncomfortable to me too, I think.
It would be confusing. I don't know. I think my family, and certainly my father, struggles sometimes with the fact that I have an artist name, but I also have my real life name. And he kind of hops between the two because he's not entirely sure which one to use now.
Right.
So I think what we're going to do is we're going to take a break for a couple of seconds. And when we come back, I'd like to invite the audience to send any questions that you have for Acoustic to Lisa Hamano, and she will pass them on to me. So we're going to take a short break now, and we'll be back in a moment. Okay, and welcome back to the second part of Amped Up. I'd like to ask you a question about how you write your songs and record them. Do you tend to work with your lyrics first and then write the melodies, or are you a melody guy first and then fit the lyrics to the music that you've written?
Most of the time it comes through melody first, and beyond that it'll begin, I'll go ahead and sing a song that I've written already, and then I'll just kind of break off and do something. And I do this during my shows too. I'll sing my songs, and then as I end the song, I'll just kind of transition into some different chordings, and I'll sing people's names and incorporate them into the gig. And then I'll just start singing from my heart and from whatever is inside of me from that day or that week, and start blurting out words. And really, that is the song-making process for me. So, and that's, and I've actually transitioned songs and snapshots from singing to everyone out there in Second Life and brought them into brand new songs. So yeah, usually the melody comes first, sometimes the words, but usually the melody, and then the words fall right into place.
Yeah. Oh, I'm very similar to you then, because I do the same. Very rarely do I do my lyrics, and it is a fun thing to incorporate the fans and people that come to your shows within the songs, because it gives a performance online a great deal more intimacy than you would necessarily have elsewhere, and I think that they enjoy it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny, Cher wrote down there, he writes a song on the spot for the first tipper of the night. And that's usually what I do. It's quite fun. So, yeah, anyone who's familiar with that, most of the time, if I haven't forgotten or if I'm not, distracted or whatever, I will go ahead and do that and sing a song for the first tipper. And hopefully, crossing fingers, it's going to be a lady who tips first.
And Cher is, of course, she runs Spirit Fire Entertainment, which is your artist management within Second Life. How did you meet Cher?
I met Cher wandering on a sim somewhere. I think it was at a Christian venue, and I was just wandering about, and we bumped into each other and just started chatting. And I said, I perform in Second Life, and then it just kind of came from there. And I had already had a manager at the time, and then made a transition out of that management into nothing. And she was managing other amazing musicians, and said, and I begged her, please, Cher, please, can I just come on board? And she's like, I don't know. We only like high quality musicians. I'm like, please. And after just multiple times of begging, she said, all right, I'll give you a shot. And then I came in, and now I'm amongst, just intense musicians like Christopher Kwan, like you talked about before, who's just an absolutely brilliant singer-songwriter here in Second Life and in the world. But yeah, he's just a great team underneath her.
As are you. You're a very, very talented, very special musician, Acoustic. You really are.
Thank you.
I have a question from Free Spirit, and she would like to tell you that Carol is here. And we also have a question from Tracy, who would like to know what role does your faith play in the music that you write?
Well, my faith is just who I am. If you come into my life, you're going to get all of me. You're going to get every side and every aspect. And as we were kind of joking around before we started this interview, You said that people were going to go ahead and ask questions, and I said, you know what, I'm a fairly transparent person. I mean, I'm no different singing at one sim than the other sim, and everything is, I'm fully integrated, as you will. So I'm
it's the full experience.
It really is. It's the full acoustic experience, and that's kind of one of our mottos, or one of our taglines is come join the acoustic experience.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's truth, it's reality. It is what it is. You can join it or you cannot, and that's okay.
And how do your family feel about you performing online? I gather your son is following in your footsteps. That's a question from Cara Trapdoor. How do you feel about that?
That's right. So It Factor is my son in real life, and he's also a singer, songwriter. Not too many songs under his belt now, but he's developing that. And of course, as far as my family and Second Life and online music and stuff, it's something that's always brought up. At the dinner table, and we're always talking about Second Life, and whether it's my immediate family, like I said, at the dinner table, or if I'm with my brothers and sisters or friends down the street, I'm always Second Life will be in the conversation at one point or another.
I think that's really cool to be able to share that with your family.
Yeah, and it's at first it's always a challenge explaining Second Life, right? It's
a
3D virtual world where you can be anything you want, anything that you do in real life you can do in Second Life. Everyone's still scratching their head. You're like, you just got to experience it to really appreciate it.
And good that they're not saying, hey, get some real friends, not just internet ones, which a lot of people have a problem with. The fact that friendships, relationships, and certainly performing online is something. Well, certainly 2 or 3 years ago, it was a bit odd.
It is, and you have it just runs so deep because you don't know who you're really communicating with, and I'm trying to communicate this to It Factor, my son, whose real name is Evan. Saying It Factor, you need to understand that you don't know who's behind. That chat box, yet there is an individual, there is a human being, a person who has feelings and emotions and processes things. Yet you can't, it's just a fine line, So I'm not going to babble on about that, but because everyone's understands those aspects.
What sort of advice did you get? Obviously your son is now using Second Life. And what sort of advice would you give to young musicians about performing online?
That is another great question, never asked before. Advice for young musicians. Definitely.
Or old musicians either. Advice for any musician.
Yeah. Well, the thing though, going back to a young musician is just like young children, they are moldable and shapeable. Are those words? I don't know, but I'm using them today. And they can be, they absorb things, they process things differently, they see things differently, not only the real world, but they see Second Life differently. They can add new things. So I guess my advice would be true and honest with yourself. Understand who you are and center yourself as an individual. And with that, your swaying to left and right will be minimal. If you can't connect with yourself, if you don't know who you are as a person, and if you don't have a direction and goal and insight into that, then any life is going to be challenging. So be true to yourself and move forward and enjoy the moments.
When you first started performing in Second Life, there wasn't really anywhere else to perform online. Perhaps Ustream or even live stream as it just started up. Do you use either of those to perform live gigs rather than coming into Second Life as an avatar too?
Occasionally. I'll do a lot on Camfrog because, again, I'm a cam whore and I love just being on cam and dancing in my underwear. So, I'll go to Camfrog a lot and do that. But, Slim, it was not too long ago where I got my start in online singing was through Skype. They had something called Skype Casts. Do you remember?
Yes, I do. Yes.
I used to sing in Skype casts all the time, and run your own cast, and that's where I met, Bundy and Jack Dog, and all these beautiful people from all across the world, Rah Rah Destiny, all these great musicians I met pre Second Life, and they're the ones who actually brought me into Second Life and encouraged me to do something here. So yeah, I do, all those different TV things that you said, and Justin TV, and I've already forgot because I'm distracted, but I'm trying to read stuff as I talk to you. So
yeah, there were something. Justin TV was huge, wasn't it? For a while, it seems to have gone into the background just a little bit now, and everybody's jumped onto Ustream.
Right.
I kind of like Ustream because they used to have where you could like the artists that you were watching, but you could also tip them as well. You used to be able to click on a little PayPal button, which they removed, and I don't know whether they put it back. Actually, I haven't been on there for a little while.
Bastards. Take that money away from us. Yeah, and Bamboozer or Bamboozle or something. I do that a lot, and that incorporates real well with Facebook. You can, I don't know if Ustream does that now too, but with Bamboozer, you can, when you stream, you just click on the link in Facebook, and within Facebook, you can see me dancing in my underwear. So it's cool.
Oh, I'm certainly going to tune in for that. So you just give me the times for that, and I'm definitely coming to watch that show then. And how have you find meeting other musicians? I mean, let's move away from the fans and supporters. And how have you find it meeting other musicians certainly from all over the world, and talking about collaborations and working together rather than just being a solo artist?
This is my challenge. I've met many great musicians, and I've friended them, and they've friended me, and we do talk from time to time. There's others that I've connected a little bit deeper with, and on a more personal level than others. Yet my challenge is, just like other musicians out there, I'm not in Second Life too often. Last year, I think I traveled over 100 days in my personal life, just with work and stuff, and also did hundreds of gigs, through Spirit Fire Entertainment. And that's the challenge: is you're so developed, you're so overworked, and it's hard to carry on these conversations. I give a little piece of myself to all these different people, and I honestly try with everything in me to respond and respect, and I am. And I'll take that into real life too, but I have to give a little bit of myself to you in this time, and then to my fans, and it just, all those little pieces, and I need to fill myself back up too. So those are the times when I just need to say, you know what, I'd love to go in world and hang out with you guys and go on Ferris wheels and go jet skiing and jump off mountains and see the Grand Canyon, but I have just a small bit of time, and I feel so, It hurts to not be able to spend more quality time with people, but I'm just spread pretty thin, So that's where it becomes a challenge to collaborate more with other musicians and get to know them more. But I always say, if you schedule me, which just sounds ridiculous, but if you schedule me, I can, help you with your sound, or I can help you with this, so...
It's definitely a time management thing. I think
it is.
A lot of us who've been performing online for a long time have, eventually, when you start, you're usually quite spontaneous and impulsive, and you book lots of shows, and you're constantly at it all the time, and then suddenly you find that actually there's been very little time for you yourself to develop creatively, to write new songs, and after a while, it kind of plateaus. And I've watched a lot of musicians doing, 5 or 6 gigs a week, if not more. And then slowly over a couple of years or so, they've toned it down a bit. They've come back, but their shows are a much better quality for that, because they've actually realised that you do need to take time out, and it is hard to juggle your passion for performing, plus the fact that everybody has a job outside of Second Life too, and families and other things to do. So I was just very interested on the collaboration side, because I know a lot of musicians who've met through using Second Life. You've gone on to collaborate and to produce material together, and I love that.
Yeah, Terry Lynn. Terry Lynn and I have been trying so hard to collaborate, and we've been on these other websites where you can do those types of things. We've tried in Second Life, and it's just, time is the most valuable commodity for all of us in here, and that's my biggest challenge, or our biggest challenge.
Have you met up with any of the musicians outside of Second Life, or any of the mixed reality jams? I want you to tell me about that.
You know what? It's really on a fluke. I'm obviously incorporated with Facebook, so I got Facebook. And in the past, I've always used to say, "Oh, I'm going here." I travel extensively. I mean, every other week for almost a week's time, I travel the entire west coast of the United States. So anything west of Utah and Colorado, all those states, I'm going to. And it's all real work. It's not, I'm not a professional musician doing music stuff. But one time I put on Facebook that, hey, I'm here in Seattle, or I'm in Portland or somewhere, and oh gosh, now I got to remember names. It's really challenging. I know Tuxo, is that right?
Tuxo Oxy, yes.
Yeah. So I met with him and man, the guy who found me on Facebook. I just can't remember his name. Dakota?
Yes.
Dakota, yeah. So Dakota's like, "Hey, James, I see, you're up here. We're having a practice session. You want to come down?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." And I didn't have time. I just didn't have any time, but I made it. I go, I'm going to take this opportunity. And I put all my reports and stuff aside, and I drove down there. And it was cool. I got to jam with them and stuff and talk and interact. And that's the only time I've ever, I'm trying to think, that's the only time I've ever met with a musician. But I'm going to be up in Northern California tomorrow, and I haven't asked yet, but I'm going to see if I can get together with Christopher Kwan. So I know he lives up there. So after this, I'm going to see if I can email him or get in contact with him and let him know that I'm going to be up in his neck of the woods. And hopefully,
wow, that sounds fantastic. Oh, I'm very jealous now. I'm absolutely miles away.
Well, when you're in the area, look me up. We'll hook up and make it happen.
Oh, certainly, I'd love to. But I do like the fact that these different things come into our lives and allow us to meet people that we have a lot of things in common with. The obviously for making music. What I do like about it is the fact that when you are meeting other musicians, is that obviously you have something in common making music, but also you have the experience of performing online. And I do think in many ways as musicians we're at least 2 steps ahead of many others out there, because we're now experienced at performing online. We're utilising virtual platforms to provide a really interactive experience, which I think a lot more musicians should do.
I agree. Yeah, the more interacting you can do, and it can be a challenge for musicians to be with musicians, right? Just because we have mindsets and we want to do our thing, and it's just deeply personal. Especially if you're a singer-songwriter. If you're a singer-songwriter, I mean, that's every song that I've written comes from a place, right? It comes from something inside of me somewhere. It could be, 40 years ago, or it could be from today. But regardless, it's deeply personal and it's connected. And so when you share that with someone and then they have an opinion about it, things can get a little shaky. I'm not so much like that. I mean, I'll talk to people and go, "Should I change this? I don't care. You want me to change the words? Should I change how I do that?" My musicianship isn't brilliant. It's pretty elementary, but the songwriting and what I put into it is what I think, the listeners hear and take with them, and that really is a key for me, that my audience takes something away. Anyone can just turn on the radio and listen and hear the same song over and over, hear it played the same way, but if they're not walking away with something, then it's kind of like, what's the difference? So as listeners listen, I really encourage them to listen.
Yes.
Listen to the words. I try and speak each word of my original songs clearly and there's a story, there's something much deeper than you're hearing, but if you listen beyond that, you're going to connect and you're going to walk away with something.
So now that we've talked lots and lots about music and what you're doing, I want to know, what do you do when you're not writing music and you're not performing in Second Life?
I dance in my underwear. How many?
I knew you were going to say that.
What do I do? You know what? I love eating healthful foods and working out, and I love traveling. I love great wines. I love my family and my friends. I try and spend quality time, with all those things. Maybe wine a little bit more, but regardless, I do have a connection and a deep passion for people. That's where I get energized. That's where I feel alive. Is when I'm traveling and I'm in my hotel room. Oh my God, I have to have Skype on. I have to be talking to 10 people at once.
Yes.
Or beyond that, I'm not going to, order in. I'm going to walk downstairs. I'm going to go to the pub. I'm going to go take a walk somewhere. I need to be around people because that's where I get vitalized. I can have the worst day ever, but once I'm, around you and other people and we're talking and communicating, I'm alive, and it's good. It's
a connection thing, isn't it? And also, I mean, that probably inspires an awful lot of the songs that you write too.
It does, and that's the beauty of it is, as I'm going out and about and either communicating with people or looking at something or something hits me in just the right way, and then there it is. That's the song. That's the melody. That's the moment that I'm embracing and incorporating into words, into song, into poems, whatever it is. It could be, my muse can be frickin' anything,
I think that's absolutely wonderful. Acoustic, it's been such a pleasure chatting with you this evening, and I do believe that you are going to play us one last song for the end of the show. But I did just want to say it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you, because I haven't had a chance before, like you. It's a time thing, and I never managed to get to hear all the musicians that I want to, but I will certainly be catching you on Facebook dancing in your underpants.
Slim, thank you so much for having me here on Metaverse TV. It's a great pleasure, and what a wonderful interviewer you are.
Oh, it's been such fun. And for those of you who would like to check out Acoustic, obviously visit Facebook. But you can also go to jamesolmos.com, check out the music. But even better, I think, is to come and join us here in Second Life and catch one of his live shows, because believe me, it's not something you ever want to miss. They're fabulous.
Thank you, Slim. The song is called I Fall Into You. Like a quiet storm, breathing in the earth and sky, I move over you tonight. Like the diamond sky, rushed in place with love, I paint myself next to you. I fall into you like the morning light in the dawn. I fall into you like the summer
like the jasmine's bloom, carried on the wind's old song. I will carry you tonight. Like a midnight mist, floating ghostly over the fields, I lay my dreams over you. I lay them down, lay my dreams over you. Lay them down across any river for your love, your love. I fall into you like the morning light in the dawn. I fall into you like the summer rain upon the ground. I fall into you, and like the light and the rain, I feel your love. I feel the warmth of your love fall into me. To me.
Thank you so much for participating with Acoustic Energy tonight here at Metaverse TV. Slim, thank you very much. Deeply appreciate your words, your emotion, your time.